Hey y'all, so I'm going to talk to y'all about ADHD today and how the detailed things, you guys, the more boring it is, you guys, the more time it takes, and we know that before we get started kind of thing, we literally just can't do. Okay, so I emailed my editor last night. Those of you who've been following me, you know, Meg got me my edits back, my suggested edits back, I think by February 2nd. So January 12th, yes. Okay, so it took her 3 weeks to go through my book. She does 2 passes. The first time it's a general pass and then more detailed. And 3 weeks. Okay, so I got it back February 2nd. And what is today? Double the time, about 6 weeks, right? And so I finally emailed her because I emailed her my query letter as well, which she approved. And it took me, okay, I got sick and then I had spring break. So yet last time was really the first time I could email her. But I told her, I said, thank you, first of all, for going over my query letter for me. And second of all, I have decided that I really need to finish the edits on my manuscript. Because the thing with ADHD, and I know this about myself, okay? And sometimes when we're telling other people this, it's not an excuse, you guys, it is literal. Like, I can't even tell you the kind of wall that I hit. Maybe that's why I could never be a runner, because I could never really get over the hump of just running. You know, I'd rather sprint and alternate versus just run, okay? So anyways, I told her, I said, the thing with ADHD, we can be 5 steps ahead in things that will move us forward. However, if we don't get this thing done, aka my manuscript, then no matter what I've done here, none of them will happen because I haven't finished this. So I told her I'm giving myself, because also we do better with deadlines, even though they also stress us the F out. We do better with them. Kindness, though, with the whole, we will get it to you by the last minute on this day, I promise you. Because, again, it doesn't matter how much time we have, we wait. I've done this my whole life. Okay, I did better on papers that I wrote them not before than I ever did if I wrote them as soon as I got the assignment. Okay, like insanity. So I told her that, and I said, so I'm going to give myself to the end of the month. My goal is the end of the month to have the manuscript completely gone through and all the edits done, so I can send it back to her, because there were some edits that I've made. Send it back to her for her suggested edits if they worked. Yada yada. So yep, ADHD mornings. So I just had to get gas. So with that, as I was watching it back as I do all my things, I should have done this before I left the parking lot. Okay, so here's the other thing I was thinking. So that is why it's also important, okay, that has to do with energies. And when you can read energies, and then the details can come into play. And here's what I mean. Meg is very good at the details. And oh my gosh, like something I could never do. So to me, it's absolutely worth hiring an editor to edit my creative stories. And then it saves me the time to where I can keep creating versus, you know, having to worry about the details. So a good example of this is Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. All right. Steve Jobs was the creator, right? He was the one who would go out and smoosh people for financing. He was the one who, without him, it wouldn't have ever been successful. But guys, without Steve Wozniak, who built it, who was also the brains behind it, Steve would have only been on this creative side. So you have to have a creator and a doer, and that they're okay with the other not doing or creating, if that makes sense. And once your ego gets too big, well, then any relationship is over, such as Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, okay? You know, one feels like what they're doing is more important. And you guys, it's not. Because without the other, what do you have? So you have to focus on those energies. So Meg, for instance, she's very, like I said, very detailed. And where I hit a wall. So when you know yourself and you know all of your isms, all your quirks, all the things that may annoy people, can you change them? Have you tried? Okay, well then maybe just keep them. Okay, I have just come to accept certain things about me, and the way that I am and the way that I do things. And I decided, instead of fighting it, just telling people, hey, just so you know, I know this may be a problem in the future, so here's what I propose. And if you know yourself, then you can come from a place where when they have questions, you can answer them. You can honestly ask yourself, will this partnership work? or whatever. So everything in life goes so much better if you know yourself. And you know yourself, you learn yourself by asking yourself questions, trying things on for size. What do you like? What do you don't like? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? You know, because I think we get to a point to where our parents will tell us, if you don't live life this way, you will be unhappy. Okay, but happiness is different for everyone. We all have a different, you know, we're not all the same person. But we judge other people for their own levels of happiness. Well, if you had done it this way, maybe you would have been, you know, happy if you hadn't made so many mistakes. But you guys, all my mistakes, if you learn from your experiences, then they're not mistakes. They're only mistakes if you believe that. And people who have not made mistakes don't understand that. So if you have lived your life by the book, which I understand there are some people that absolutely have to live their life by the book, and that's what makes them feel good. But then other people, if we don't understand why we need to live life this way, what happens is we need to experience it this way to be like, oh, okay, this way is better. Or we're like, what are they talking about? I like this way. Or you find your happy medium between the two. That's another thing. Okay, with my, I haven't done one of these in a while, so this one may be a little long. Commuting finally back into work after spring break, because I go to schools. Mainly, I have commercial accounts too. Well, I'm starting to, but school districts has been my main thing. Okay, so I need to get to my point because I'm about to segue and I don't want to segue. Knowing yourself. Okay, I remember now. Okay, so my goal is I used to set lofty goals. Like, I want to be the first in this. I want to be in the best in this. Well, you guys, if I was not passionate about it, I wasn't going to be the best. So if I wasn't great at something, I'd be like, I'm not going to do it. Or rather, if it didn't bring me joy, no matter how dumb I looked, and then I was like, I don't have to do it. Okay, I've never been one to feel like I have to do something just because somebody else says you should. Where I was going with that was, oh my gosh, why does this happen? Okay, you guys, see, this is, if y'all could remind me sometime, that would be amazing. Okay, I don't have to be the best. In fact, I have decided that I want people to view me as a bridge. Okay, a bridge between worlds, so heaven and hell. A bridge between generations, so, my parents, me and my daughter, like a bridge between us. However, I'm probably the problem in that bridge, but anyways, in generations in general, I'm talking the bridge because I understand all sides. And because I have experienced so much, and I do think ADHD plays a huge part in this, we remember more because we feel more. And so just naturally that oxytocin, that whatever builds up, and we're like, whatever the memory, I think, is it oxytocin? Hormone is, when that goes up, that you remember more. Like, the more you feel, you remember those moments, okay? You never remember the perfect day unless you chose to enjoy that perfect day as is and celebrate it as the perfect day. Otherwise, we learn to take it for granted. And that's why you remember the storms. That's why you remember the tornadoes. Yes, they live a little wait. But you remember those times because you were a little more scared. So, you felt more. Okay, so I want to be the bridge between philosophy, psychology, and literature in the modern day world. That's probably my biggest goal because I see all of it and I can write towards all of it and it all interconnects. And so my goal is to, again, I've said my memoir will be my keystone. Okay. It has bits and pieces from all the other books that I will be writing, but I don't feel as though, like, if I'd come out of book 1, book 2, book 3, all the way to 7 before my memoir, then I would have thrown off a lot of readers. Meaning, if I had put my sexuality one first, right, my erotica first, well, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to throw everybody out that does not believe that sometimes you have desires other than just making children. So, as a woman, we're told, you can't have desires, right? I mean, I think it's changing now, but it's really not. A lot of women still really shy away from that. So if that had been my first book, I could have put off a lot of people, okay? So if I had just done my husband's mental health journey and all of that, the psychoses and, then the people who read that first might not believe or want to believe my other books, the generational ones, it's just, so I feel like you get to pick and choose. So my memoir is a little bit of everything, like a little teaser of all of it. It's very catered to my ADHD brain because that's how I wrote it. And none of it is, if you have ADHD, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't have ADHD, you guys, at least for me, I build characters in my head. You know, I use different voices in my head just to make it more entertaining. They're all me, right? But if I want to sound a little more literary, I have an English accent. If I want to sound a little more like sarcastic, I come out with like a, not sarcastic, but something maybe I'm uncomfortable to say and I don't want somebody to think the wrong thing, or I'm worried, then I was talking a little more of a country accent. Odd, right? But I grew up in Sharpstown, so I don't have an actual accent. I have whatever my accent is now. Okay. So I'm gonna be the bridge between all the worlds in the modern day. Because when you come out of an experience and you're not ashamed of it, because you realize that the only way to become unashamed is to become not shy to tell your stories, but don't tell them in a way that is like, look at me. You know, it's just like, these are my experiences. This is what has led me to be the person I am today in this life, right? So anyways, the keystone, you'll get to pick and choose. And then if you're like, okay, I really like the way she talks about this. This makes me feel really uncomfortable. Well, you'll just go and get the book that applies to this area and not this area. So that's why my book, my first book, my memoir, is going to be the keystone, because it's going to let you pick and choose the future books. Because I don't want, I'm serious in what I say, but I'm not a serious person. As in, I don't take anything in life too seriously. Wow, I'm really close to the airport. That plane was almost on the ground. All right, that is it for today. A little rusty, but I think I said quite a bit. All right.